Join me as I dive into the creepy world of haunted dolls and see if I can find out if these horror stories are real or just spooky tales. Haunted dolls have been a staple of horror stories and folklore for centuries. There's something unsettling about an inanimate object, especially one that's meant to be a symbol of childhood innocence, taking on a life of its own. From creepy porcelain figures to antique toys, haunted dolls have captured our imaginations and sent shivers down our spines. But what's so fascinating about haunted dolls? Is it the idea that something that's supposed to bring joy and comfort can turn against us? Or is it the fact that we can't quite explain the strange occurrences surrounding these dolls? Whatever the reason, one thing's for sure: haunted dolls have earned their place in the world of horror. From movies to books, haunted dolls have been a popular trope in the horror genre. Who can forget the creepy doll that comes to life in Chucky? Or the haunted porcelain doll in Dead Silence? These stories have become ingrained in our culture, and it's hard not to wonder, are these stories based on real events? I have to admit, I've always been scared of dolls. Something about their dead eyes and stiff smiles just creeps me out. But hey, being scared is what makes it fun, right? So let's get this party started and dive into some real-life stories about haunted dolls. I want to hear from you guys. Have you ever had a creepy doll experience? Have you ever owned a doll that seemed to come to life or move on its own? Share your stories in the comments below, and let's get this conversation started. Let's get to the good stuff. Over the years, there have been countless reports of haunted dolls that have left people shaken and confused. From mysterious noises to unexplained movements, these stories will send chills down your spine. It all comes down to this: two haunted dolls. Two haunted doll horror stories, but only one story is real. Which one? Story 1. The story of Annabelle, America's most notorious haunted doll. In 1970, a mother walked into a hobby shop to purchase a birthday gift for her daughter, Donna, a nursing student at the time. The choice seemed innocent enough: a vintage Raggedy Ann doll with its characteristic red yarn hair, triangular nose, and cheerful smile. Little did she know that this seemingly harmless children's toy would become one of the most infamous haunted objects in American paranormal history. Donna, who was pursuing her nursing degree at the time, shared an apartment with her roommate Angie in Hartford, Connecticut. The doll initially took its place among Donna's other childhood memorabilia, sitting quietly on her bed. However, within days of its arrival, both women began noticing something unusual about their new housemate. At first, the occurrences were subtle. The doll would seem to change position slightly, a crossed leg here, a shifted arm there. Both women initially dismissed these observations, rationalizing that perhaps they had bumped the bed or forgotten how they'd left the doll. But as the days progressed, the movements became more pronounced and harder to explain away. They would leave the doll on Donna's bed in the morning, only to return home and find it sitting comfortably in the living room chair. On other occasions, they would discover it standing upright, leaning against furniture in various rooms of the apartment. Most disturbing were the times they would find the doll with its legs crossed at the ankle and its arms folded neatly in its lap, positions impossible for the soft, stuffed doll to maintain on its own. The activity surrounding the doll soon escalated beyond mere movement. Donna and Angie began finding small scraps of parchment paper with written messages on them. These notes, scrawled in what appeared to be a child's handwriting, contained phrases like "help me" and "help Lou." The appearance of these messages was particularly perplexing, as there was no parchment paper in the apartment, and neither woman could explain their origin. Lou, a friend who frequently visited the apartment, became increasingly concerned about the doll. He warned Donna that something about it felt deeply wrong and urged her to get rid of it. His intuition proved prophetic when he had his own frightening encounter with the doll. One night, while Donna was at work, Lou was alone in the apartment. He heard rustling coming from Donna's room and went to investigate. As he entered, he saw the doll appear to shift position on its own. Before he could react, he reported feeling a sensation like someone was behind him. When he turned, he felt a searing pain across his chest. Lifting his shirt, he discovered 7 distinct claw marks across his torso, marks that were hot to the touch and appeared to have been made by something supernatural. Increasingly disturbed by these events, Donna and Angie decided to consult a medium. During a seance, the medium revealed that the doll was allegedly possessed by the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle Higgins. According to the medium, Annabelle had been a 7-year-old girl who had died on the property where their apartment complex now stood. The spirit claimed she felt safe with Donna and Angie and wanted to stay with them and be loved. Moved by this revelation, the two women decided to accept Annabelle's presence, giving the doll permission to inhabit their home and their lives. This decision, however, would prove to be a grave mistake. As the paranormal activity continued to escalate, a priest visiting the apartment became aware of the situation and contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren, prominent paranormal investigators who would later become famous for their involvement in the Amityville horror case. The Warrens' investigation would reveal a far more sinister truth behind the doll's activity. Upon examining the case, the Warrens concluded that the doll itself was not possessed by the spirit of a young girl at all. Instead, they believed it was being manipulated by an inhuman, demonic entity that had attached itself to the doll. According to the Warrens, the demon had fabricated the story of Annabelle Higgins to gain the women's trust and sympathy, with the ultimate goal of possessing a human host. The Warrens explained that demons often attempt to fool humans through a process called infestation, first by moving objects to get attention, then by creating the illusion of innocence to gain trust, and finally by possessing a human host. The story of the dead little girl was merely a manipulation tactic. There had never been an Annabelle Higgins. The Warrens arranged for an Episcopal priest to perform an exorcism on the apartment and the doll. Following the ritual, they took possession of the doll, deciding it would be safest under their care. The drive home with Annabelle proved to be eventful. Their car's power steering failed, the engine repeatedly stalled, and the brakes temporarily malfunctioned. Ed Warren sprinkled holy water on the doll, and the problems ceased. The Warrens placed Annabelle in a specially constructed case made of holy glass in their occult museum in Monroe, Connecticut. Despite its containment, the doll reportedly continued to exhibit supernatural behavior. Visitors to the museum reported seeing the doll move within its case, and some claimed it could change its expression. One particularly notable incident involved a young man who visited the museum and mockingly challenged the doll to do its worst. According to Ed Warren, after the young man and his girlfriend left the museum, they were involved in a devastating motorcycle accident. The young man survived but suffered serious injuries. When asked about the crash, he reported that he lost control of his motorcycle for no apparent reason. Following Ed Warren's death in 2006 and Lorraine Warren's passing in 2019, the status of the real Annabelle doll became somewhat unclear. The Warrens Occult Museum closed its doors in 2019 due to zoning issues, but the doll remains secured in the Warren family's possession, still contained within its specially constructed case. The story of Annabelle has captivated the public imagination and inspired several films in the Conjuring universe, although the movies take significant creative liberties with the actual case. The films portray Annabelle as a frightening porcelain doll, rather than the innocuous-looking Raggedy Ann doll of the true story, perhaps making the real tale all the more unsettling, as it suggests that something truly evil might lurk behind even the most innocent facade. Whether one believes in the supernatural elements of the story or not, the tale of Annabelle serves as a chilling reminder that sometimes the most ordinary objects can become vessels for the extraordinary, and possibly the malevolent. The case remains one of the most well-documented and discussed paranormal investigations in American history, continuing to fascinate and frighten new generations of paranormal enthusiasts. Story 2. Robert the Doll, the haunting tale of Key West's most famous resident. In the heart of Key West, Florida, behind the glass walls of the Fort East Martello Museum, sits one of America's most notorious haunted objects, a century-old doll named Robert. Standing 3 feet tall, dressed in a sailor suit and clutching his own toy dog, Robert's weathered face and painted features have witnessed over 100 years of history, mystery, and alleged supernatural activity. The story of Robert the Doll begins in 1904, when Thomas Otto, a prominent artist and member of Key West's high society, purchased the unique doll from a German manufacturer. The doll was given to his young son, Robert Eugene Otto, known to family and friends as Gene. What makes this seemingly simple gift extraordinary are the circumstances surrounding its arrival. According to local legend, the doll was actually created under the influence of dark magic. The Otto family employed several servants, including a young Bahamian girl who practiced voodoo. After being wronged by the family, she supposedly crafted the doll as an instrument of revenge. While this particular detail remains unverified, it adds to the mysterious aura surrounding Robert's origins. Young Gene formed an immediate and intense attachment to the doll, naming it after himself, Robert. The relationship between boy and doll quickly began to raise concerns among family members and household staff. Servants would report hearing Jean engaged in animated conversations with Robert, but what truly unsettled them was that they could hear two distinct voices responding to each other. The Otto household soon became witness to increasingly bizarre phenomena. Family members reported hearing footsteps in the night coming from the attic where Robert was kept. Objects would be found moved or overturned in rooms where Robert had been placed, and neighbors claimed to see a small figure moving from window to window when the house was supposedly empty. Jean's parents would often hear their son screaming in the night. When they would rush to his room, they would find furniture overturned, toys scattered about, and Jean in a corner, terrified, saying Robert did it. While initially dismissed as typical childhood nightmares or attempts to avoid punishment, the frequency and consistency of these incidents began to worry the family. As Jean grew older, his attachment to Robert remained unusually strong. Even after becoming an accomplished artist and marrying a woman named Anne, Jean kept Robert close. The doll was given a prominent place in the couple's home, a room in the turret of their artist house on Eaton Street in Key West. Anne, however, was deeply unsettled by Robert and eventually insisted that the doll be confined to the attic. According to various accounts, she claimed that Robert's expression would change when no one was looking, and she would catch glimpses of him moving on his own. Local schoolchildren passing by the house would swear they saw Robert watching them from different windows, even when he hadn't been moved. Over the years, a disturbing pattern emerged. Those who disrespected or mocked Robert seemed to face unfortunate consequences. Visitors who took Robert's photo without first asking his permission reportedly experienced camera malfunctions, personal accidents, or sudden illness. Some claimed to receive mysterious phone calls filled with maniacal laughter after encountering the doll. One particularly famous incident involved a plumber working in the Otto home. The man allegedly laughed at Robert's appearance and made several mocking comments. Shortly afterward, he was found in his truck, which had inexplicably crashed into a tree, repeatedly muttering about Robert's face appearing before him on the road. After Jean Otto's death in 1974, Robert passed through several owners before finding his permanent home at the Fort East Martello Museum. Even in his glass case, Robert continues to generate mysterious stories. Museum staff regularly receive letters from previous visitors asking for Robert's forgiveness, claiming they've experienced bad luck since viewing him without proper respect. Today, visitors to the museum must follow strict protocols when approaching Robert. They must introduce themselves politely, ask permission before taking photos, and show respect at all times. The museum's guest book is filled with accounts from people who claim to have witnessed Robert's head move, his expression change, or electronic equipment malfunction in his presence. Robert the doll has become such a significant part of Key West's cultural heritage that he receives regular mail from around the world. Some letters contain apologies, others ask for blessings, and some even invite him to visit. Museum staff dutifully read all letters to Robert, maintaining the century-old tradition of treating him as more than just an inanimate object. Perhaps most intriguingly, Robert continues to influence modern popular culture. He has been featured in numerous television shows, documentaries, and books about paranormal phenomena. Some believe he served as partial inspiration for Chucky from the Child's Play horror film series, though Robert's actual story is far more subtle and psychologically complex. What makes Robert's story particularly compelling is its longevity and consistency. Unlike many paranormal tales that fade with time, the reports of unusual activity surrounding Robert have remained remarkably consistent over the past century. Whether these occurrences are the result of dark magic, spiritual attachment, or the power of suggestion remains a matter of debate. Today, Robert sits in his climate-controlled case at the Fort East Martello Museum, still wearing his original sailor suit, still clutching his toy dog, and still, according to many, watching visitors with those painted eyes that seem to follow you around the room. His story serves as a reminder that sometimes the most enduring mysteries are not those that shock and terrify, but those that quietly challenge our understanding of what is and isn't possible. For those brave enough to visit Robert, museum staff offer one piece of crucial advice. Always remember to say hello when you arrive and goodbye when you leave, just in case the stories are true. So there you have it. 2 stories, one a myth and one a reality, but which is which? It's a tough one, this one, so I'll do something out of the ordinary and give you a little more time to decide. It's not just famous haunted dolls that are sending shivers down our spines. It's the countless reports of ordinary people who claim to have had experiences with haunted dolls. From mysterious noises to unexplained movements, these stories will leave you wondering, Are these dolls really haunted? Take, for example, the story of a woman who claimed her daughter's doll was haunted. According to her, the doll would move on its own, and even seemed to be watching her. She was so creeped out that she eventually got rid of the doll, but not before capturing some seriously creepy footage. Or take the story of a guy who claimed his doll would whisper strange things to him at night. He was so freaked out that he started recording the whispers, and what he captured will send chills down your spine. These stories are just a few more examples of the many reports of haunted dolls out there. So what's going on here? Are these dolls really haunted, or is there something more rational at play? Whatever the explanation, one thing's for sure. Haunted dolls are a staple of horror culture, and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. So, if you're feeling brave, let's keep exploring this creepy world of haunted dolls. The most eerie moments from these stories are sure to send shivers down your spine. From creepy whispers to unexplained movements, these moments will leave you questioning what's real and what's just our imagination. But before we get to the most shocking story of all, I want to ask you guys again, what do you think about haunted dolls? Do you believe they're real, or are they just spooky tales? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep this conversation going. And now, it's time to build up to the most shocking story of all. This one's going to send chills down your spine, so make sure you're ready. The most shocking story about a haunted dolls is... Well, I lied. Both of these stories are true, a reality. I bet none of you saw that coming. Got to keep you all on your toes. So what do you think? Are haunted dolls real, or are they just spooky tales? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep this conversation going. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe for more horror content. And if you're feeling brave, check out my video on the paranormal activity that'll leave you sleeping with the lights on. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.